Hello.
Howdy doody.
Hola.
Time to get a little dark and mysterious, maybe a little mournful. We had a pretty rough week last week.
You know what's funny is I was going to break my little hoodie out for this upcoming Miranda Summit.
Yeah, nice.
You should.
The cloak, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the hoodie too. Like I wear the hoodie all the time. That's a nice hoodie.
We need to wear the cloak every time a game dies. We can
that's what I'm thinking. That's I'm going to set the trend right here. I was going to have candles, but I don't want to set fire to my office. So.
Now Vox isn't dead.
No, but there are deaths in the family. We'll get to that.
Yeah, that's true. The roadmap came out. There's a lot.
So I was looking it up. I Googled February. I was going to be like, is there anything like thematic about February, especially the first week in February, that I could like tie anything into? Turns out that the word February means purification.
Oh.
I'm like, that's interesting because it's kind of like a bunch of house cleaning that Gala has had to do.
Yeah, right.
And we could start off by diving in with Wednesday. They let us know that the Vox team, well, there were some major shakeups there and some people got fired, and they apparently hadn't done much of anything in regards to Voxverse itself.
That's Gala's take, right, with what they said.
And that's fair. That is the news that we got.
There's two sides that are out there for sure.
Okay. So the information that we're being given through the Gala Discord is that the team that was there had done had more or less put out a bunch of vaporware, made some really interesting videos, and then spent some time building Get Plucked. They made some chicken NFTs, but that Voxverse itself had virtually no code, not even a vertical slice for Voxverse, and that apparently that they said that Will Wright had been ghosted by the team for 6 months. So it kind of came out that he wasn't actually the person that was there to be building the game. It was his like creative vision. He kind of came up with the game design, game concept, and then more or less handed it over to the Gala team to make it happen. And it didn't happen, and it apparently hasn't been happening. So they're putting together a new team. They're speaking in hopeful terms in regards to it'll happen sooner than you think. Like things are going to be happening, but we're going to have to we'll see how long Thune is.
Yeah, well, I have obviously quite a bit to say on this, essentially, because I'm a large Vox holder.
Yes.
Been a supporter of Vox for a long time. I mean, there's a lot to it here. So with what they're saying, like a couple of things that I personally have some issues with, to start with, and the fact that they said that there was zero code written, for me seems very almost impossible, in a sense that the Vox team itself were the ones that the other side of, so the most recent hackathon that went down, where Nerd Node won one side of it. There was two sides. There was the Gala people, and then there was the everybody else people.
Mm-hmm.
So the Gala developers internally in that, the Vox team won that, right? So they won that side of things with their development. I can't remember exactly what they did. I could find it somewhere, but they won that side, and Nerd Node won the non-Gala side. So they obviously had people that were there working and putting out code. So to state there was a zero code seems a bit of a reach. Now, when you look at what one of the people that was let go, Vera, awesome.
Yeah.
Her Discord name, she's put out a lot of information that contradicts what Gala is saying.
Yeah.
And I talked with Vera a few times. She's, again, another one of those people that people love within the Discords. She was very helpful. And she was just all around. I think she's been on Faz's podcast a couple times, I think.
Yeah, she's an incredibly positive person, laughing all the time.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, I've talked to her a couple times with that, and it's awesome. So she's putting out a lot of stuff that's basically contradicting what Gala's saying. So
She saw too much.
she's gone. But the other thing that I have is, so Brink, I tweeted out, because in the beginning of the year, Voxverse was like, "Oh, wait till you see what we're going to drop this year." And on January 2nd, I said, "Well, why wait?" Then obviously this came out, and so I said, I guess they wanted to share bad news. That was on February 1st, so a month later.
Yeah.
Brink responded and said, there are a couple parallel tracks here. There's a lot of desperate stuff that the Vox team has been working on that is quite cool. There is also a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. This will result in a better product in the long run. So his statement there almost contradicts what he was saying as well, and the fact that there's a lot of desperate stuff that the Vox team has been working on that is quite cool. So if they're working on that, but there was zero code, what were they working on? Right? So that doesn't make sense to me. And if there is a lot of disparate stuff, sorry, I keep saying desperate and disparate. I'm such an idiot. What are these things that are quite cool? What is it that's quite cool? Give us an idea of what's going on here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He also says in that same tweet, says, there's also a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Great. What is that stuff? Let us know what that stuff is. Where are you in terms of developing anything that was talked about or promised in the beginning? And then the last part is, this will result in a better product in the long run. Well, I don't know about that, in the sense that what was basically talked about and promised in terms of Voxverse was pretty fucking awesome, right? So what we were supposed to be getting. So what is this product that's going to be better in the long run? Explain those things to me. I'll feel a lot better.
Well, my kind of thing with it too is they've made the comment a couple times of, this is the year we're gonna show and not just talk. But we've just yet to see that so far, and so I have a hard time believing that this is going to be the year of, okay, let's actually push things out. If they're still kind of going with that, well, just wait and see. I mean,
Here's the thing: Vox brought in tens of millions of dollars. Tens of millions. I think when you look at the Miranda's Vox, it was in the tune of 30 plus million that they brought in. That's just Miranda's. So they brought in a literal truckload of money to deliver practically zero. And my biggest part of me that I just could not get over was how they said they were ghosted for 6 months and nothing was getting done. So for me, that is a catastrophic failure from the top down. Meaning, who's in charge of Irrelevant? James, who was apparently kind of the main guy on that project next to Will Wright. So who's in charge of them? So this comes down upon the very top of the structure, meaning Eric, right? Apparently he's.
No, I read that differently. I didn't read the green names from Gala had been ghosted. The ghosting was on part of the Vox team to
You're
Will
correct,
Wright.
but if I am Gala, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want updates. Where are we with the tens of millions of dollars we've brought in for this to develop these things that are going on? So I want information from Will and James to give me information that's going on here. So again, this is a you take responsibility for your actions, and this is from the top down. If something fails, it's your fault. It's not their fault. You're in charge. Right?
Well,
right.
Irrelevant is no longer a part of Gala.
Oh, I know.
So maybe that was the major thing, and now his departure happened a while ago.
You're deflecting onto those people that were apparently in charge there. I'm putting the onus directly on the people that are here, that are still there, that should be answering for the reason that this has failed.
I'm not trying to deflect. I'm trying to defer because we do eventually kind of come around to speaking about it conceptually and philosophically. I need a croissant right now.
I went off. I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'm so slow. It's not as good when I do it so late. Jeez. But I was heated, man. I was heated.
So,
I
let's
got to
flow through.
hold on. It's just this is like one thing after another, man. Like one thing after another. Like I've put so much time, effort, money into the Gala ecosystem to not get answers back for this is utter fucking bullshit. It's ridiculous. And now I'm done.
And now he's done.
So we did get a little bit of answer back. The day after the news came out about Voxverse being a debacle, Mike McCarthy got on in the Mirandus announcement channel and posted that the Mirandus Vox will have utility in the upcoming tech test. If you have an exemplar Vox and you pair it with the actual exemplar, you're going to be able to get a 30% health boost, hit point boost for that character. And if you have any of the other creatures, the Minotaurs or anything else like that, you'll get a 10% hit point boost. You don't need to pair it with anything specific. You can just like tag it on whatever exemplar you're playing with. He says apparently there's other plans as well. He uses the term big plans. Now, we hear that all the time out of a lot of other Gala people, but I'm willing to like extend grace to McCarthy in this matter. I think they do probably have some other big plans. I saw that Jason Hughes was discussing they were coming up with some suggestions for what Vox should do in the long run within the Mirandus General channel, and Jason says he hates the idea of a static bonus like the 30% hit point boost. But as far as standing that up and getting it ready for this tech test, they don't have time to do that with all the other stuff that they're doing. He'd love to see something that's like some kind of I agree that it was damage control masterclass.
You want a little secret here? McCarthy didn't even know that the Vox thing happened. Literally, we had my podcast last week when it happened.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was on here with Hill. We went down after that podcast.
What crazy timing.
And had a drink. I had a kombucha. I didn't actually drink anything. With McCarthy. He was down at the local restaurant working down there. And so we went down there and we talked to him about it. And he didn't know about it at that point in time. So, but he's heads down working. So he's doing stuff for Mirandus. And that's when he told me this exact same thing that he just put out here was they've already built in, utility for Vox. Like they're like, it's there. Like that's the whole reason they agreed to do a Vox drop, right? Yeah. In the get-go is because they were going to provide utility. So they're following through on that side. Yeah.
So positive note, they are going to have some utility. Well, at least the Mirandus Vox will have utility within Mirandus.
Yeah.
We've got the Austin, Texas thing coming up. Is the list complete at this point of the handful of community people that are going to be invited, or are you still looking for people? I'm not volunteering, by the way. I'm stuck in Idaho, but
they have it. It's all locked in.
Cool.
I don't know if I'm allowed to share the actual names.
I'm not asking. I was just wondering if there was still hope for somebody out there that hadn't gotten their golden ticket yet.
So there's 9, and I think 10 was going to be. There's a potential maybe that's the 10th. So I don't know if they've heard back from him yet. And 10 was the limit that they were going to put out. So I know Cal Elf got in under the wire. So
nice.
I just watched On-Chain Gaming's last video, and he was a little mad that he wasn't invited.
Well, he was a Ghana, like I thought he was a monk, right? I thought he went to monks aren't Christian, but
he did go on like a 2-month long traveling spree.
Yeah, he dipped out.
Yeah, he was over in China and stuff doing some stuff.
He talked about it in his video of what he's been doing.
Did he?
Yeah, he just needed to get away from everything.
He needed to, man. He was knee deep. He was knee deep, man. I've talked to him a couple times. He's an interesting fella.
Yeah.
So that's the 10th. This weekend coming up. Jason Hughes did his update. Okay, last week I was like, I wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to Manny for his Mirandus Monday stuff. Doesn't he skip it this Monday? so no, I withdraw my kudos to you, Mr. Manny. But he did put out his Wallpaper Wednesday, so he gets half points, I guess, this week. But the tech update was thorough as always. There were a couple things in there that I tried to extract a few layman's terms things, and I couldn't figure out what he was saying enough to like tell somebody else. So I think I have an idea of it, but I don't want to go on the record saying that this is what he was talking about, and then either be a fool or give somebody the wrong idea. So we're just going to say that it's there. It's there in the Discord server for you to go take a look, and you can interpret it whatever way you like. He's also been really, really active within the community all the time. Actually, he just gets in there and he just starts jamming with people. I was saying earlier, he said he didn't like the static bonus. They wanted to work on some things that were like cooldown type things that the Vox would be allowed would enable you to do. One of the other things that he said in the general chat this past week was that because of some things that have come up, it is likely that they're going to have to push the tech test a little bit further. So it may not be right at the end of Q1. I guess there were some. He got sick, and there were other people were absent for other reasons that were like personal. So that took away a lot of man hours as far as getting the critical stuff done. And he says he's not sure he sees them being able to get all of that done within that time frame.
6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah. So, but he was forthright about it. It's like, okay, here it is. We've been working. We got a lot of stuff to do. He lets us know what he needs to do, what they need to do. And all of a sudden things aren't working out. And he just says, hey, you know what? We're going to have to push this. He doesn't like wait until the day of and say, oh yeah, you guys were expecting something, weren't you? Well, we'll get it to you soon. He's owning that up front and giving good enough reason for us to like maintain our faith in him, to trust that they're not up to no good. They're not ashamed of it. They're just like it's real.
Human stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. So it might be warning. That tech test might get pushed a little bit maybe into early Q2. But that's, we know now because they got on and told us about it.
Main Mayhem.
Yeah, what about Main Mayhem? It'll be interesting to see what that looks like this year. There's far fewer games to expect to see.
We'll probably get into that, I'm assuming. Are we doing a full review of the roadmap today?
No. But there was enough that happened across the platform. We're gonna be pressed to get this in. We got 15 minutes. We might go overtime today, folks.
Where was the roadmap?
Timbo, you've been too deep into EOE, bro.
Yeah. Come back, Major Tim.
What the hell was this? I've been looking.
Link it in the chat.
I'm still everywhere though. I'm right here.
I'm glad to have you here this week, Tim.
We missed you.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Well, maybe we'll just touch on a couple highlights that were in it.
Yeah, there are some highlights that we're going to get to. So Musashi came back to the Common Ground World Town Hall. He'd been away for a few episodes, and it was like last week was just Volcron and Farmer Michelle. He came back, and he gave us the reason why. I mean, he apparently was a part of the team that was trying to figure out what was going on with Voxverse. So he's been he's now like kind of overseeing both Common Ground World and Voxverse to a degree. Maybe not entirely. I don't think it's his sole job to do both of them, but he's definitely in a kind of like managerial position over them. He's very happy with the way that things are going with the Common Ground World direction. He sees what they're doing. He says he's pleased with the results. The ship is going in the direction that they set for it and expected it to go. And it's there any of the hangups, and we did have a hangup in that they said that there was going to be the Townstar node conversion at the end of January. They talked about that in the town hall meeting that got pushed 2 weeks, but that's not even them. That's the chain team that's involved with that. So they're just waiting on the chain team to get their stuff in order so that they can continue forward with their guild structure that is reliant on those nodes. But the AMA portion had a bunch of people coming up with really nice, quality of life improvement suggestions for the game, and the team was like, yeah, that actually sounds really good. There were a couple of them they were just like, that probably wouldn't work because of this, but they were genuinely considering all these suggestions. But Musashi came out a couple times and he was very specific. He's like, these are all going on a list, but we have these past promises that we have got to fulfill first. And so anything that's going to get in the way of getting those things done is going to be squashed for a bit. And so at least hearing it from him, I like what I'm seeing from the team. I like what and if he's going to bring that same kind of sense of morality and obligation, if he feels obliged like that to Townstar and Common Ground World, maybe he's bringing that to Voxverse as well. So we can be hopeful. I'm not going to immediately like say that it's the end of the world. I am in my morning clothes, but it's it's still like anyway. I'm not fire sailing my Vox. There's that.
If there's anybody out there that wants to develop on utilizing Vox and that kind of stuff, come to the collective. We got a couple people that are coming together that are going to start to build, right, and start to put stuff out there for the holders of Vox. So this is
the new Voxverse.
Yeah. Let people know, like, we're going to build it. We're going to build it. I mean, fuck it.
So we can move on to something that is actually like doing.
Wait, real quick. I got a plug. I got to throw in. I don't know what's not pulling up. Nice. Vox Battles wish list. Vox Battles on Steam.
Nice.
This is Gala Collective. This is exactly what we're trying to do, right? I mean, free.
Yeah, it's Cryptogram's project. He's done a good job.
While we're waiting on, we can't control what Gala does, but we can control what we do, and the ability to play with your own characters in a battler is the first step in being able to utilize what people invested into. So
that's great. That's like and now a word from our sponsor kind of.
Now a word from our sponsor. I was trying to pull it up, but it was being weird. I was like, wait, don't move on yet.
If it's a word from your sponsor, I guess I should just talk the whole time.
We just want a word. We don't need a podcast from our sponsor.
Oh, sorry. I'll just shut up then. I'll just sit here and smile. Look pretty.
Well, we love what you contribute. I mean, think about it. We didn't saw you once until the very end. Although you have the button, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Oh, Blake has the button. So does Tim.
Oh, see, I'm just the non-tech dude. I have the cloak. You guys have the button.
There it goes.
So back to game that is working, Echoes of Empire. Tim, you've been busy with that one, but. I guess we could just kind of like breeze through some of it. We had.
Let Tim do it. Let Tim go. He's been playing.
Hit it, man. Tell us about it. What's good about Echoes of Empire?
Yes, we did get the light paper. Let me show my screen real quick.
So while he's sharing the screen, it came out on Tuesday for the general public. Tim got in. We were talking about that last podcast, Monday morning at 8, and everybody else got in. Like people that didn't own Celestial Claims got in Tuesday at 2 Pacific. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so I've been grinding for the Gala Collective. We got a little operation going. We're working with Moth and Ascendance of Aurora, but really open to working with anybody. We did finally. We did get some. What are you laughing at? Oh,
it's just grown so much. Like it's just crazy how massive our little.
It is. So we do have hits now. Anybody who we've been putting hits on guys who have been attacking us.
Hold on, really quick. Did you destroy John T, or did you allow him to kind of come back?
We allowed him. He's got a big boy. Okay,
good.
Home base.
Okay.
No, so look, I just posted about this. I got the first account to 1 million. I've been working closely with Siraj. He's me and him probably have the 2 biggest accounts, but that's like the Gala Collective's cruising. We're by far the biggest account so far, and we've been managing the Ancient. Been growing. We got another We got little groups coming everywhere. The game is laggy.
Yeah.
Especially for my account right now. But yeah, we got it growing.
Love it.
So as far as the battle that broke the game, that was something that I kind of wanted to go into the drama of that. Apparently, we had someone that was mining on the Ancient or one of the epics around it. I don't know who shot. I think honestly it was Duck Dodgers who threw the first punch. I think he
heard around the world.
Yeah, I think he threw a shot at the Pox, and the Pox just went ballistic on him. And since Duck Dodgers was affiliated with the Moff decided to take it personally.
Well, no. It was Duck. Duck did throw the first punch, but we have a giant list that we've had of all the allies.
Yeah.
And the Pox was in our territory and wasn't part of us, and we had searched for him. And so we were all getting ready to go to get him out of the claim so somebody else could come in that was affiliated with us. And the way the battling is just a little off right now. We did break the game. Literally, the game broke. But it was too much for it. And we're still trying to figure it out. It's still laggy. We can't really take anybody's home base out yet because it's so to have an attack big enough to take somebody out. The game can't handle it right now. So that's obviously I hope the first thing that they're working on.
Well, I guess they probably should have sold nodes then, I guess, and ran it on all those nodes.
Right. Which
they needed more money.
Yeah. I guess when you were about to get to the light paper, I have a lot of thoughts on the light paper. I think first they got to fix the game to where it works at scale, and then I think they got to honestly super easy fix for the light paper to me. Me and Family Man have talked about it a little bit, but yeah, you can start on it with your thoughts, Family Man.
Well, just to continue exactly where you left off, as far as the economy goes, they're following the model that we see with Champions Arena, where the amount of daily spend, percentage of that is being given back to the players. For Champions Arena, the percentage that they landed on was 15%. And that means that there's going to be like a just continually diminishing amount of gains that's available for the players to earn from, because if people aren't benefiting from the game, even now, there is something to be said for people that are going to spend money on a game without expecting any kind of return. But right now, we don't have that kind of player base. Right now, the vast majority of people playing Gala games are diehard crypto degens that refuse to give up on Gala themselves, just because either they really like the game concept or they're really in deep in how much they've already spent.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you haven't been able to extract value from the games, you thought you were going to be able to do, all the way up until this point, as soon as you get into it, I think we've seen this, as soon as people get into something where they can extract some value, they're like, well, I got to extract everything I can to make up for the games that didn't pan out. And then I'm not earning on to, recoup some of that, because that's how some of these people think. So.
Yeah. So if they haven't told us what that percentage is, we just know that every day they take the Stardust that you have in your account and they cut it in half, and half of it gets burned and the other half stays in your inventory. And depending on how much that half is, you get a certain amount of Gala tokens, which is, I'm sure they're using fractionalized distribution concept there as far as.
This is all on chain. We should be able to see exactly how much gets burnt and then how much Gala is distributed, and then we could actually get a idea of what they think it's worth.
I'm sure we do see the on-chain data for the Gala being distributed. The Stardust is a database token, so we wouldn't see that.
There's the crux of things.
So, well, yeah, that's
database tokens can be on chain as well. Just FYI.
It could, but it doesn't have to be, and there doesn't have to be anything nefarious going on for them to still get it wrong. That if they're looking at a 15% model, if their concern is that they need to start making money right away as a developer, then they're going to lose their player base. There's going to be very little incentive for again, like we've said, it's very buggy. It's very laggy. Why are people going to stick around and play a laggy space game when there's no earnings in it? When there's like you don't even really get anything out of it. So we've seen it in other games. Tim, which one were you citing? Who was it that just like completely dumped all their earnings right back into the player base? I don't know. There are other games there that took it very seriously. That they were just reinvesting in themselves rather than eating like gobbling up profits for themselves. They saw that the job wasn't done yet. They still needed to be paying in so that they could build a player base. Once the game gets out there and can be discovered by the general public as something that is fun, well then money might start flowing in that you can start taking and taking it to the bank. Like think about the way that Jeff Bezos started Amazon. If he would have started eating his book selling profits right away, he never would have been able to build what he built. He threw all of that money right back into development, right back into like building his community, building his user base. But it seems like that model's being missed across the Gala ecosystem. That they just don't quite see that. They don't quite understand that they're going to live and die by the size of their community, and if they don't figure out how to grow that community, they're just going to flounder. It doesn't matter how good the product is; it's just not going to succeed. I kind of jumped the gun on that. I wanted to get to that later, but we brushed a little bit too much on it right here. Let's move on. There is a little bit of EOE news that continues into the ahead of the game because they ended up having Matt Lee show up. It was an interview. It wasn't an AMA with him. Bitbender just tossed some questions at him, and he was there largely to just kind of give his account of what he thinks about the first week, first few days at the time. And he was largely positive. He was happy with what he was seeing. And he did confess that he knew that there were things that were wrong, and he knew that there were things that the community was looking for. Interestingly, the thing that he focused on rather than anything about the earnings, he said that the thing that was really standing out to them was the idea of being able to communicate in the game. And that was something that Tim and I also talked about a lot, that you get into that game and there's no way to connect with anybody else. So you have to rely on Discord or some other form of social media. And I love the way that you summed it up, Tim. You were saying how it should be its own social media. Like you're getting into this game. This could be where you meet your friends. This could be where you hang out and enjoy, and maybe share photos of your meal that you just had or whatever.
You are on a map. You are on a map with everybody on it. You zoom out, you can see it. You're literally getting to see the entire world. There has to be a world chat. There has to be a global chat, a quadrant chat, a guild chat. There needs to be every single section of chat, so we can sit there and have hits in the game, make call out John T. Hey, I'm gonna come after you, John T. Right in the global chat. It's got like you want the drama there. You want people there.
So they heard that, like however long that takes for them to get something into the game, we'll have to wait and see.
What we should do?
There are a lot of things that they're going to need to fix before it gets good. What's up?
Gala Note Guy says we need a real MA with the EOE team. Why don't we set that up through here through the Gala Gazette?
That'd be brilliant.
We got some contacts to the devs, so let's see if we can't get that going and do our own AMA.
Yeah, nice. The head of the game did move on, and this is where the cloak comes in. The color, the dark colors, the black sadness. Bitbender ran off a list of games that are no longer a part of the Gala community, and he said he couldn't address all of them, but he gave us 6. He said that Crazy Boom, Dawn of Fire, Freestyle Football 2, and Stoda are not a part of the Gala ecosystem. Now, he had a very scripted phraseology that he was using in regards to, we welcome them if they want to Gala chain, if they want to be a part of Web3, but as of now, they no longer have any affiliation with Gala, something to that extent. Over and over again, he repeated the same kind of idea. with all 6 of the games. I listed these first 4 because they were all things that got announced. Dawn of Fire had a trailer at Galaverse, but they never actually did anything with these. So like there were no sales, there were no drops or anything like that. The other 2 were a little more significant. Wizards and Warriors is a game media product, and they dropped boxes to us way back in like November of 2021.
Right.
Because we were supposed to get something as a Galaverse. It was one of the Galaverse drops.
Right.
Bitbender said that they will be converted to the gold. He said gold boxes. I'm assuming it's these gold mystery boxes. That we will get those in the place of them. Dr. Wookie came on and said that he would rather have 2 different ancient poker frames for it, and he was like, it sounded like Bitbender was willing to wheel and deal in regards to what the public gets for the Wizards and Warriors box.
Well, isn't Stoda? Isn't that game media as well?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's no surprise there. They're already having their beef, so why would they bring their other 2 games to the Gala chain?
Yeah, well, and it seems like they're not even going Web3 with them. And that's the big thing that, and maybe that's just Gala's face that they're putting on too. So who knows? Well,
I mean, and when we look at it from their side of it, they did not have the greatest experience with the Web3 side of things, and it looked more like just a cash grab rather than an actual like product that they were going to put out. So why would they want to continue with it? It may seem more of like a scam to them than an actual like real thing. I would love to talk. The game media guys have gone silent on me as well. I think there's lawyers involved, I think, so they're not talking. But I'd love to talk with them as well on continuing on the Web3 path and bringing it to the collective. I think we have some options that can really help them out. So,
agreed. And we also have a lot of the NFTs. We bought the tanks, right? So it would be great to be able to work with them to make something happen.
100%.
The last game, and one that people were probably really at least relieved to hear about, and maybe not happy with the result, but Forever Winter bunkers that were sold at Galaverse 2, they're going to be refunded. Now, the process for that is a little bit complicated. Apparently, you're going to have people that bought them and held on to them are just going to get an immediate refund for the amount that they paid for them. And that's not just the number of Gala tokens translated equally. It's a dollar value for dollar value, probably in Gala tokens. But then people that sold their Forever Winter bunkers, it's the person that now has it that is going to get the refund. So if you sold your Forever Winter bunker at some point, you got your money, is the way that they're coming across with that. If the person that has it is going to be refunded the amount that they paid for it, whether it was on OpenSea or whatever.
Oh.
If it was a person to person, I don't know what they're going to do about that. That'd be kind of complicated. Jason said there's also there are other outliers, people that like transitioned it to like a cold storage wallet or something like that. They're going to be working with people on it. I think they really want to like get this one right as far as fixing the problem, because they were a lot of money and they didn't do anything. So that there's the sort of positive news, at least, like I said, at least a relief to people that have been holding those and wondering what the heck was up with what they bought. The rest of the episode was he did a kind of a brief overview of the ecosystem blueprint, is what he was calling it, and this is largely for Gala Chain. So all the attention shifted to Gala Chain. All the questions were about Gala Chain. All the things that were coming up were based on the things that he was telling us through this blueprint. One of the things that was put into that in regards to the way that the founders nodes are going to work, apparently if the number of active nodes ever drops below 20,000, the distribution is going to stop. And it'll just stop for the day that it drops below. If it kicks back in the next day, the distribution comes back on. And this was like a major uproar, and I can understand why. I'm a node owner. I think a lot of people we're so used to seeing them spin one thing that seems like it's good for the community, and then it turns out that they're really just kind of like protecting themselves. So we're not sure who they're actually thinking about in this, but at least what it appears to be is that because 20,000 is a number that between the nodes of Benefactor and Wright Thurston, and then all the nodes that the employees are able to use based on their incentivization program, that node total can never reach 20,000. And so what he's saying in putting that number in there is that the distribution is going to rely on the people who have bought nodes. It's the company will not just be able to maintain the distribution in order to be able to make sure they get their Gala tokens. That's what I think the idea behind it was. However, it became problematic because what happens if there's a bunch of slackers someday, or what happens if there's an AWS outage or something like that?
Right.
Whatever it might be.
They needed to think that through a little bit more.
Yeah, and so the number made sense, but it seems like as far as like why 20,000, because we know that it's 14,000 in the hands of the founders and then other things, but it's still like very arbitrary and just like slapped in there.
Well, do you know how many workloads are on right now?
Isn't it 32,000?
23,416.
Interesting.
So that's right now at this current time. 23,416. So that would mean that just 3,400 going down. And like you said, a small AWS outage would do that easily because the majority of people that are running them are on AWS or Volta or whatever. So that's a little concerning that they're just going to put that out now in as a requirement, because that has never been a requirement. Seems like that should be a node vote type of requirement for the network itself. Anyways, keep going.
Well, no, that's a great point. This is something that was entirely decided by them. There's no vote involved. And again, like he's saying that this is to push the idea of decentralization, but it's them being centralized and like taking the reins and doing it whatever way they want in order to hopefully produce an effect that's positive for the network. But it seems like they just managed to step wrong each time they come up with a solution. So this one's not going over well. There's a lot of other game stuff. There was plenty more.
I want to touch a couple things on the Founders Node stuff first, though.
Yeah.
Just on the roadmap. So I know a lot of people are interested in the fact that Townstars, or Common Ground World, which, by the way, they still say Townstar node on workload. When you look at they
will be Townstar nodes until they're tokenized.
Oh, okay. So, which they are not tokenized, obviously. And they said middle of this month is the new drop date, right? And then
it was a 2-week push.
2-week push. And then on Founders nodes in there, it said Q1. They will be NFTs. And then Q2 is when the vote from last summer to basically the whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, the penalty for your node issues, taking your Gala out, the honor score essentially for the founders nodes will go into effect in Q2. What time during that time frame, we don't know. And is it going to be founders nodes are live on Q1 or end of Q1, and then like the next day, which is Q2, then the vote goes live? I don't think so. I think they're going to give it some time for people to sell and ultimately decentralize the network in that sense, push those out. So,
yeah. It wasn't mentioned in Ahead of the Game, but Warren Marshall came out and put a post in Discord. Another sad day for the Gala community, that he's no longer going to be working on Town Crush. He said he was only able to get a couple hours in a week, and it's such a major project and undertaking that it's just never going to get done if he only has that limited amount of time. He isn't working for Gala anymore, and the game wasn't done to earn him anything for it, so he's got another job and he has to work, and he just doesn't have the time that it takes in order to get it working. So he said he's going to put a pause, and probably permanent pause, on it. So
Well, again, I talked with him a while back about bringing that over to the collective as well, and he was really wanting to do it on his own. So maybe I'll reach back around to him and see if we can't connect some dots with a couple people that will help him develop that and keep it moving. I mean, it's something that he created, and you have to put time elsewhere, but maybe you put a little less time into it, and we have some other developers that can
or take it a step back and simplify it, right? And
totally. I mean,
make it something. Make it like I've seen that over and over again. A lot of devs and any project in general, you get too large, and then it doesn't seem attainable, and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, so you shut it off. But if he can get to that, that speaks to why the gaming industry in general has moved towards the development release cycle of let's release a alpha, beta, so on and so forth, is so they can have those attainable goals and get some dopamine hits along the way. He could switch to something like that.
I think from the perspective, and now I'm not a developer at all. I wouldn't be able to write a line of code if I needed to, but just listening to what a lot of the developers have to say, I think one of the problems there is that if you go to make an improvement to the game, a lot of times the code that's already there becomes incredibly problematic in regards to the way that you want to adjust or add to what it is if you don't have a full roadmap ahead of time. And I think a lot of these guys are trying to think start to finish, and it is overwhelming to think start to finish. I don't know what kind of a brain it takes in order to be able to see the start to finish, take a vertical slice per se, but still have it be completely enabled so that it can scale.
So that is exactly what my hypothesis or conspiracy theory is of why these devs have had such a hard time with Gala Chain, is that extra addition of implementation of integrating your data from your database of your game to Gala Chain. They haven't quite cracked the code on that. Of every time they have to do an update, what hoops do I have to jump through to make sure that this data reads correctly to the chain because it's on chain? Because I'm seeing that even with like releasing an app on the Google Play Store and Apple, like every little update you do has to go through a verification process on each side, and those just add up because you have to do it over and over and over again. I think
you're going to get some really good insight this upcoming trip from the Miranda's team, because it's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I've talked at length with McCarthy about it, and there's a lot there that is the issue.
Which they could have just said that out loud.
I know, right?
That's what's crazy, is just say the fucking truth, because we're not stupid. Like, we're not, like, the community's not stupid. They like it. We're going to push, just tell us the truth. And we see that with Hughes. And the Miranda's team, they tell us the dirty, ugly truth. And all of us are like, okay, great. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. We understand.
Yep.
Yeah. But then you lie to us, and then you gaslight us and make us think you didn't lie. Oh, but our intentions were pure.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Now I'm going to have my Nate arc and go on a tangent about how pissed I am.
Oh, so what you're telling me is something needs to happen.
It's February, isn't it? Time. Come on, let's get it all off our chests here. No. Paddling on, Eternal Paradox had an update early last week. Season 2 came out on Tuesday, and there were some bugs, mostly visual. There were a couple things that they wanted to improve on. But as a consolation, they gave a 24-hour hunting event where you could get essentially 20% off your stamina costs for resource gathering, which was a big deal. There's a lot of people that really applied themselves towards that. I like the way they do it. You know, they make a mistake. Something comes out buggy. Not only do they own it and they say, "Whoops, we're sorry," but then they give you something in the game to help, like, to kind of here for your misery, for your time here. Here's something that'll help you a little bit and get ahead and make you feel better about the whole situation. So I really like the way that they think about the whole process of their game. So hopefully there are people taking notes and they
Yep.
at least pull some out of this model. Champions Arena, they got a new pickup event, and they made an adjustment to the Tower of Trial. That was something that you had, I think it was 10 attempts that you were able to use. Anyway, so they added 3 extra attempts daily to the Tower of Trial so that you can harvest a little bit more gear. And then they also posted a 2024 roadmap. It's just this little screenshot that we have right here in front of us, kind of overarching blurbs about when they expect to be able to get to some of this stuff. But that is incredibly hopeful in regards to, like, we saw the transition where we had new leadership come in, and now we'll see how they execute according to what they've projected that they'll be able to do. Champions Arena it's very polished, but it's an arena battler, so they need to find a way to be compelling within the industry, and they need to iron out some of the economy stuff. Right? So hopefully this will be a step towards that. Legacy has a new update too. They've been kind of quiet since before Christmas. They made it so that your land deeds, anyone that has one of the land deeds, gets 5 times the original number of starting keys. So you didn't need to have done anything. Like they are going to be upgradable where you can unlock even more keys, and the keys are there. That means players can come join your land, your guild, and that gives them access to the game. If someone doesn't have a key, they don't get in. So this just paves the way for a larger population to come into the game and get playing. Even the common deeds that had no initial startup keys, they now have one. So if those of us that got the startup deeds from Galaverse, we now can actually host someone on our common plots.
Nice.
So, they also upgraded the guild management screen, and it has a guild message system. Look at that, communication in game. So that's Peter Molyneux and his team saw the need there, and they did something about it. It's just messaging. It's not like a chat. But it is still a way that you can communicate with the people that are on your land, and let them know what you're thinking, what you're doing, and they can get back to you if they have any questions or suggestions. They also added the ice cream product line. So in addition to the cakes and burgers and bicycles and jewelry, they now have, I think it was jewelry. Yeah. They now have ice cream too. Poker Go Play had a Discord stage AMA. And what's really funny is that, like, you didn't really see a lot of the results of it in the chat. I started that and I was like, oh please let them have I missed the event, so I was like, oh please let them have a link or something to the AMA, and they did. Thankfully, there is a download that was posted within the general chat that you can get a hold of that. I didn't post that there because, like I said, it is a download, and I'll let you guys decide whether or not you want to fish that up and put it on your hardware. But they essentially announced a ton of major adjustments within this. Chips are no longer going to reset from day to day. So if you've played already, you have a certain number of chips that you start with. If you lose them, you're essentially out for the day. If you gain on them, you not only does your chip count grow, but you have what's called your take, and your take determines how much or how many sweepstakes entries you get. But at the end of the day, your take and your chips were reset. And if you had an NFT frame, like an avatar frame, you were able to keep like a certain percentage of those from day to day. But let's say you had an incredible day and you ended up making millions or hauling in millions of chips, you were going to lose a substantial portion of those day after day. They decided to do away with that system. The chips are no longer going to go away. The take is going to reset. The take will go back to 0 every day. So it's not like you're going to get free sweepstakes entries. You do still have to get in and play, and your take determines how many entries you get. but they're going to allow you to pile up your chips now. And in order to combat the inevitable inflation of chips within the system, they're instituting a rake on both the cash tables and in the sit and goes. So they're shifting the 6-man sit and go to a 5-man, and they're going to continue with the 9-man sit and goes, and then 9-person. Sorry, I just realized that I'm being kind of not gender neutral there. Anyway, it's shifting to 5 and 9, and then the cash games are going to have a 2% rake per hand. So that inevitably it'll grow. The 2% isn't going to outstrip everything, but it will help kind of mitigate overall inflation. And they'll be able to make adjustments as they need to later on down the line. Another thing that they talked about was cheating. There are a lot of people that get into the game. They're either multi-accounting or they're just colluding with another person to be able to get easy takes and to grow their sweepstakes entries. They were talking about if there was a way to code in anti-cheat stuff for it, and inevitably they said it almost always comes back to a manual process as far as really identifying if the activity is cheating or if it just happens to be the way the cards are falling for a while, so they don't have any surefire answers as to the best way to eliminate people that are benefiting from the collusionary tactic, but they are doing something about it, and they're banning a lot of people. One of the posts, I think it was from Ventit in chat, he said they've discovered a number of people are doing it, and it was actually, they were surprised because it was some of the bigger, some of the well-known people in the community that were doing it. So I think we're going to see a bit of a shakeup there, that some of those familiar names aren't going to be playing anymore. Last topic for the day was kind of already brushed on. I wanted to talk about the community and really the importance that it represents to Gala here. This screenshot here, I was just in Gala Gold, and I realized what happens in gold stays in gold, but this one was treasured. They were just talking about what does Ronin have that Gala doesn't, and the answer came back is they've got people playing their games. That's it. They've got and why doesn't Gala have people playing their games? And we can look at all the different things that we've talked about today. We've talked about the dishonesty and the gaslighting. We've talked about the unwillingness to own the problem. And these are things that have burned thousands of people. Thousands. These are all people that would be playing these games right now.
100%.
If they hadn't felt personally affronted or attacked by the way that Gala was doing things. People that hung on for a long time and then just finally had enough, I'm not going to name names, but we're talking about thousands and thousands of people that would be enjoying these games and making them enjoyable for other people. But until they get thousands of players, their flywheel for most of these in-game mechanisms is never going to start. The matchmaking for spider tanks was always problematic because there weren't enough players. You look at an economy like Echoes of Empire. If we don't have more players coming in, they don't have to be spending much, but they do have to be playing and maybe buying some credits sometimes. If that doesn't happen, there's going to be no economy. They have to.
We gotta just run it. You're on a roll, but we've got literally 60 seconds before
our cast will cut at an hour and stop.
We're at an hour.
We're done. Thank you.
But really quick, agree 100% with what you're saying. There's games out there that would still have players, and it would grow, and it would be good. But
yeah,
we need to fix it, and we're here to help. So,
thanks, guys.
Yep, that's what we're here for.
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
everybody,
y'all
for
being
joining
here.
us.
This is a lot of information to cover, and we'll see you next week.
All right, take care,
Easy, guys.
Bye-bye.